And today marks World Intellectual Property Day, and in China, smaller companies are becoming a big focus. The World Intellectual Property Organization says the country is spearheading global innovation amid the pandemic.
Small and medium-sized enterprises are the unsung heroes of the global economy. That's how the chief of the World Intellectual Property Organization described it. More than 99% of all enterprises in China are small and medium-sized, providing over 80% of job opportunities in cities. These companies not only serve as the backbone of China's employment, they also provide a leading role in the nation's innovation.
China in particular keeps its 14th place in the Global Innovation Index 2020, strengthening its position as a global innovation leader. Two of the pillars that were very performant was the one related to knowledge and technology outputs and the one related to creative outputs.
Experts say intellectual property protection and innovation go hand in hand. IPR systems play an important role in the development of innovation. Through adopting smarter and more convenient measures to protect intellectual property, China is protecting innovation and allowing companies to grow and be successful. Mechanisms like patents and copyright registration can protect the interests of enterprises as well as their new and groundbreaking technologies or ideas. China has been stepping up efforts to protect IPR and encourage innovation, even during the coronavirus pandemic. Many economies have experienced a slump due to COVID-19, but at the same time, it also brought about more opportunities for small and medium-sized companies.
I think the coronavirus pandemic has indeed driven the development of the digital economy and smart economy. We see more patents, inventions, or even brands rising from the healthcare sector and also the pharmaceutical industry.
Last year saw China take a big step forward in protecting intellectual property, with the copyright registration increasing more than 20% compared with that of 2019. Research suggests that patents can help increase the sales of startups by more than 50% and also double their possibility of going public.
Well, China says it's making it easier and faster for firms to protect their intellectual property. Last year, financing that allows companies to secure funding through their IP assets reached $9 billion. The timeline to review patents has been cut down to 14 months, and the average time to review trademark registration has now been cut to 4 months. By the end of 2019, there were about 66,000 companies providing services related to intellectual property. Nearly all of those, 98%, were small and medium-sized enterprises. Well, China's been strengthening its rules around intellectual property over the past 4 decades since it began opening up, and the government is now focusing on innovation as a major driving force in its push to further protect ideas.
China's efforts in intellectual property protection can be traced back to the year 1980, with the establishment of the National Intellectual Property Administration. In the same year, China became a member of the World Intellectual Property Organization. The basic framework of the legal system for China's intellectual property rights protection was established in the 1980s and early 1990s. In 1983, the patent law and the trademark law were created. In 1985, the National Copyright Administration was set up. In 1991, China enacted the copyright law. In 1994, China signed the Patent Cooperation Treaty. And in 2008, China outlined its national intellectual property strategy. The goal was to build China into a country with a high level of intellectual property creation, utilization, protection, and management by 2020. Now, as China is putting forward innovation as a primary driving force behind the country's development, it highlights that protecting IPR is equal to protecting innovation. China is creating a national plan for IPR protection and application for the 14th Five-Year Plan for the Economic and Social Development from 2021 to 2025. The country hopes that with specific goals, tasks, measures, and a blueprint for implementation, intellectual property rights and public interests can better be ensured.
So let's talk about this with MEPH Jiagui. He's a lawyer and arbitrator for the World Intellectual Property Organization. It's good to have you with us on Global Watch. So first off, help us understand, what are some of the biggest problems you think smaller enterprises in China face when it comes to protecting intellectual property?
Well, intellectual property rights, IP rights, have received more and more attention in recent years, and its development in China has also attracted an increasingly high level of focus. However, SMEs generally have the following three problems in IP protection. First, the SMEs' awareness of IP protection needs to be enhanced. IP plays an important role in the development of SMEs, while small businesses often lack the time and knowledge to address IP issues, not to mention the understanding on how to apply the law to safeguard their legal rights. Second, SMEs are usually in need of an IP management team due to the specialized nature of IP, especially patent and other technology-involved areas. The lack of an IP management team makes it difficult for enterprises to deal with IP risks effectively and efficiently. Third, weak IP plan may also contribute to the insufficiency of IP protection. An effective IP protection strategy will therefore account for their long-term development, and the failure to have one will make maintenance and enforcement much more costly. In response to these above issues, I believe we should strengthen SMEs' awareness of IP protection, encourage them to set up a capable IP management team, and proactively cooperate with IP agencies to develop an IP protection plan carefully tailored to their special commercial needs.
So education is certainly part of the focus here, but China has also introduced a lot of measures in recent years to protect intellectual property rights. But how effective have those measures been?
Well, in recent years, the protection of IP rights in China has been gradually increased. The initiatives that impressed me deeply are the reduction of the burden of proof for right holders in the legal actions, the introduction of punitive damages, and the establishment of several special IP protection centers. For right holders, the difficulty of producing evidence will directly affect their ability to enforce their IP rights. In IP cases, due to the intangible nature of IP rights, the infringement of IP is not always easy to identify, and it is more difficult for the right holders to produce evidence to support their claims and to enforce their rights. The revised laws and regulations in recent years have reduced the difficulty of producing evidence for the right holders, made the protection of rights easier to better defend and protect their rights, and further improve the overall awareness of IP protection in society. And the punitive damages system, on the other hand, significantly increases the consequences of violating IP rights and seeks to make up for the existing losses of the IP right holders caused by the infringements. The laws and the penalties are able to prevent infringers from carrying out infringement. Last, the establishment of IP protection centers promotes the development of several local industries. For instance, the Beijing IP Protection Center provides the expedited pre-examination services for the new generation of information technology and high-end equipment manufacturing industries, speeds up the patent examination process, and promotes the technology innovation in industries such as the artificial intelligence, i.e.
Right.
AI industry, and supports the development of innovation-driven industries.
Yeah, so these centers are a relatively new idea here in China. They're physical locations where people can go and get approval for IPR and get their complaints addressed. So, this is such an academic, difficult topic for a lot of folks to understand at home. So over the past 5 years, when you look at all the changes in China, what to you has stood out and what do you think still needs to happen?
Over the last 5 years, the Standing Committee of the People's Congress has made comprehensive reforms in the areas of IP laws, such as the trademark law, the patent law, the copyright law, and the anti-unfair competition law, which beefed up IP protections and gave right holders greater leverage to enforce their IP rights in the Chinese market. Particularly, the revisions involve intensifying the punishment of IP infringement, including the increase of the maximum statutory penalties and the application of punitive damages of up to 5 times the amount of damages, increasing the maximum sentence for some kind of IP crimes from 7 years to 10 years, recognizing a 15-year term for industrial design up from 10 years, giving pharmaceutical patent holders the right to request for up to 5 additional years of protection to compensate for the time taken for the new drug application process, and so on. So, for the next 5 years, according to the outline of the 14th five-year plan for national economic and social development and long-range objectives through the year 2035, China will further implement the strategy of strengthening IP protection, carry out a strict IP protection plan, improve IP laws and regulations, and speed up legislations on IP rights in some kind of new fields and new industries.
Right, because we will certainly see new fields and new industries in China. MEPH Jiaogui, a lawyer, arbitrator speaking to us from Beijing. Thank you for your time.